Hello, folks.
Hey, tell us what we got today, Dave. Tell them what they've won.
Old.
Sorry, hey, welcome to Old Ass Movie Reviews. I'm Scott. There's Dave, and he's going to tell you what we watched.
We watched Mrs. Santa Claus, 1996 musical with Angela Lansbury.
Yes.
Scott and I kind of had like this weird year, not terrible. It wasn't like the pandemic years. It's more of just like stupid shit's happening here, there, left and right. And we're like, okay. And then some good stuff happens. And Scott was like, man, I need some really good Christmassy movies. You gotta give me a good Christmassy movie. Second movie I thought of, honestly, was Mrs. Santa Claus. Threw that at him. He's just looking at me. I'd never heard of it. It's like, well, I don't blame you because it was only on TV one time, as far as I know, and then never seen again. But I got lucky enough to where it was, I DVR'd it, and I knew that damn thing was never going to show up again. So I burned it. I'll be honest with you. But I could never find it on DVD or anything until the last 6 months, 8 months. It started being shown, like, reviewed, not reviewed. What do you call it when you watch it on TV? Streaming.
Streaming.
Words are my friend. I know words.
Yeah, English.
It started streaming recently, and Amazon Plus, who owns Freevee, has it on there, so you can watch it with commercials. I know what I think about it. I love the movie. I'm excited. I want to hear what you think.
Well, okay, so after a lot of thoughts about this, it felt like an hors d'oeuvre, an appetizer. It's like, hey, it's Christmas season. Let's drop this in and start to get that feel. And this is one of the things that I really enjoyed about this is it's from the 90s. It's obviously made for TV, has a low budget. Okay. But what we see here is a studio that said, hey, we got a story. We're going to make something Christmassy. We're going to slap some shit together. We're going to add some songs, and it works.
It all works.
It all works. It works. It's what we have here is the ending is the best part of the movie. We'll just back up to the beginning. It gets to Mrs. Claus. She's in the North Pole. It's about a week or so before Christmas. Her husband doesn't have time for her. He's busy reading the naughty or nice letters or making his pile and making his list and checking them twice. And he doesn't hear half of the shit that she has to say. So she's obviously, I'm obviously not needed. I'm not wanted or whatever. I'm just going to take the sleigh and the reindeer and go. She had made this whole new route to make it faster.
The whole map was her thing. She brought the map to look
to
at.
Make it quicker for him and make it easier for him. It was a gift. And she goes to try it, and one of the reindeer get hurt along the way somehow, and she ends up landing in New York in the slums, pretty much. I don't know what they call something
Delancey.
or whatever.
I think it was Delancey.
Yeah, so they were in a very working class neighborhood. And it's just what happens to her and the friends that she makes along the way and the people she touches. Yeah. There's a really telling
just by being nice.
It's a really telling bit in here at the beginning when she's talking to her husband and she asks, "Are there any letters in there for me?"
Right.
He looks annoyed. However, she's asking because she genuinely wants to help him get through his stuff. And if there's some addressed to her, then she could read him, because his thing was, the rules are, I'm Santa, they come to me, I read them. Bottom line, you got to respect that. But there's like any to me, Right. And what you see through her events and her little trip, her whatever you want to call it, her
adventure. We'll call
her adventure leads to the fact that she will be getting letters. She will, and there is cause for Mrs. Claus. We see her throughout the the seasons stuff, artwork and things. I know people who dress up as Mr. and Mrs. Claus. It's really cool, and she has become pretty much right there with it. So it was good. It was good.
I have to shut my door real quick. I'm glad you liked it. My initial reaction to this movie when I saw it so many years ago was that I fell in love with it. Angela Lansbury, in anything that she does, I've always loved her in. She could do Mrs. Claus, and then she could turn around and do the Manchurian Candidate, a total psychopath. So her acting ability is just insanely good. But what I liked is the elf covering for her.
Oh, I know, is great.
While she's
with the hot chocolate,
go get the reindeer, and he covers, and he's taking care of her. He's trying to take care of Mr. Claus. He's trying to take care of the boss's wife. That guy's got so much shit on his shoulders. That poor little guy.
Christmas is in danger of being canceled.
Exactly,
because Santa does not have his reindeer.
He doesn't have his reindeer. But what I liked is when she gets to New York, she meets the guy in the stables. And she's got to get her reindeer in there, and she's just bringing in 8 tiny reindeer. And this guy's just, I have no idea.
He's like, "What am I doing to do?
What I'm going to do with all these reindeer?" But he's nice. He befriends her, and he helps her find a place to stay. And Mrs. Claus, the elder face of the biggest Christian holiday in the world, befriends a nice little old Jewish lady in New York and her daughter, who is marching and screaming for women's rights to vote. So the story takes place in about 1910, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So it's a period piece, and it works really well as a period piece. I don't think you could do it now, like try to make it modern. It just wouldn't work. That the cuteness would not be there for me.
No, it wouldn't.
But all the actors and actresses play their parts really well. They can all sing, of course, because it is a musical, and they can all dance because it is a musical. That's what you do. So Mrs. Claus, her whole thing is, how do I help people? I gotta hang out in New York for a week and let the reindeer's leg heal. So I'll hang out, and it's gonna be close, but I can get home in time for Christmas. Well, she hasn't heard from her husband. She doesn't know where, if he even knows she's missing or anything. And they're talking. She's talking to the girl, and they're going to have this party. And in the meantime, all the kids that she's befriended work at a toy factory. And the one girl's like, "Yeah, come on down. He needs a new supervisor." So Mrs. Claus shows up.
Wait, why does he need a new supervisor?
Yeah, they call her Mrs. North because she just, she told the one guy she's from up north, and he's like, "Oh, Mrs. North, that's fine. I got you." She meets the toy factory owner, who, by the way,
there's our villain of the movie.
His name is Terrence Mann. This actor I've seen in a million things. He's such a good actor. I never realized it was him in this movie until last night when I was looking at him. I was like, holy crap. And his name came up, and I was like, son of a gun. And his name is Augustus P. Tavish. He owns Tavish Toys. Not a nice guy.
No.
But in the long run, she winds up getting the kids to go on strike. She gets fired because the strike doesn't work. Yeah. The kids wind up all walking out anyway because they're like, well, hell, we really liked her. And the one girl comes in and says, "What's your problem? What, she was trying to help." So all the kids quit. Tavish Toys gets closed down, all because he's just a mean guy.
He is a mean guy.
As it should happen to mean people. Mrs. Claus is finally gonna go. And she winds up having a nice confrontation to Augustus Tavish.
Yeah. That's a good one there.
From there, what did you think? I knew it was coming. I knew something was coming.
Yeah, I got a little worried. I got a little worried at the end. I actually got a little on the edge of my seat when the reindeer weren't there, and I was like, "Oh shit! Here we go. And he was a good villain, and I know they didn't have a lot of time, but man, he
Right,
rolled over so damn quick, and it's like, okay, that's fine. Let's, I get it. But
right.
she knew, she saw his picture, she knew the name because
Yeah,
she's
she knew
Mrs.
this.
Frickin' Santa Claus.
Yeah,
She
she
knew who
she
he was, she knew why he was upset, she knew that. So that was
and
cool.
she's magic because everything she got, she was paying for, number one.
I know, dude.
And
I was
then,
like, wow.
but the thing that's the big telltale is she's talking about his teddy bear. And
Hmm.
he's crying. He's almost in tears about the teddy bear. This
Yeah.
guy's supposed to be in his
She
40s,
knew
I guess.
all the details.
And she whips out the teddy bear.
Yeah, that was a
She
good
just
moment.
opens up her cloak, and there it is. It wasn't made at Tat McTavish Toys. It
No,
was
it was
magic
pure
teddy
magic.
bear. It was
Yeah.
the exact teddy bear that he had as a kid, and that's what makes him roll over. He's just like, oh. But
Yeah.
that's the difference between a lot of the writing nowadays, and this is 96, so it's a fairly new
Mhm.
movie. Well, I say fairly new, it's probably 30 years old.
Huh.
I'm old. I still think the 80s is 10 years ago.
I know, dude. It was. What are you talking about?
But the difference is that they made this guy dislikable without you hating him. I mean, you kind of
Yes.
hate him, but he didn't have to do evil things. You didn't have to see him be just a rotten, terrible. They made him.
He's
Go ahead.
he's below Scrooge. He's
Yeah,
below Scrooge on the
yeah,
evil level.
yeah,
He is a lesser Scrooge. He
yeah.
is the
Exactly.
Scrooge character of this movie.
Yeah,
Is all the way
good
down
call.
to not turning the heat on, working the kids to death.
Yeah,
It just it's Ebenezer Scrooge. Of course, everybody needs that.
and I think too many writers nowadays would have tried to really just pile it on for him and made
Yeah.
you not only dislike the character, but not even want to watch the movie because he's so dislikable. This got you just to enough to where you knew this guy was dislikable and you knew he
Yeah.
was going to get his comeuppance. You
I
knew it was
think
going to happen, but you didn't know how.
I think there needed to be more time there, but
I
they
wish
really
the
didn't
movie
have
was a
it.
little, yeah, I wish the movie would have been a little bit longer because I would
Yeah.
have liked
I
to.
hardly ever say that.
No, no, you're right. But I would have liked to have seen the dance with Mrs. Claus and him a little bit more. That like
Yeah.
the good guy,
Yeah.
bad guy dance a little bit
Things If I have to critique the movie, that's one of the things. It suffered from the same thing as The Bride of Frankenstein, of things happening instantly, like
more. Right,
newspapers being printed, the strike
right.
closing, all of that. Like in the span of an afternoon, they strike, the newspapers came out, and the
Yeah.
toy store was closed. What?
Yeah, it was quick. They
But
didn't screw around.
yeah,
They didn't have
they didn't
fun
mess around. We
bureaucracy.
get the point. It's a story. We know we're not watching reality.
Right,
It's
right.
fantasy. It's an escape. It's fine. But it was like, this is
It was
weird.
really quick. But you
Yeah.
know what? Again, because of the type of movie it is
Yeah.
a Christmas movie. It's practically a Hallmark Hall of Fame movie, you know.
Yeah.
So it's really very nice, very sweet. All the kids, all the family can watch it. I
Yeah.
I just enjoy this movie. There's
It's a
just
fun one.
and the like you said, the very ending is really nice and sweet too.
It is.
Because at the end she looks like Mrs. Claus. She's wearing the big
Well,
red.
at the end, he realizes how he was neglecting her,
Right, right.
and she realizes how much she needs him, and they see how much they need each other. And it
Yeah.
was well written, well done. Um, it was enjoyable.
Michael Jeter as the head elf, Arvo.
Yeah.
The scene where he comes in with the chocolate milk to give to Santa Claus, and Santa practically spits the chocolate milk out. He's like, "My God, what is wrong with
Yeah.
this chocolate milk? Who made this?" And he's like, "I did." He goes, "Well, why didn't Mrs. Claus make it like she always does?" Well, she's not here, and Santa is like, "What? What do you mean she's not here? Where'd she go?" And he starts talking to Arvo, and Arvo's like, "Well, you've been neglecting her. You haven't seen her. You haven't done this. You haven't done that." And Santa Claus, "What are you talking about? I always talk to her. He goes, "She's been gone for
Yeah.
2 days."
I know, dude.
And when he says that to Santa Claus, you can just see Santa like react. That
Yeah.
is acting to a whole new level. Like, holy crap. She's been gone. And he realizes she's been gone for 2 days and I didn't even know it. You know?
Yeah.
And that's good writing. That's good for that character. And for Michael Jeter, he's passed away, I think, back the late 90s. I think he passed away a few years after this, if I'm not mistaken. Um, was a really good actor. He was really funny looking, and he made all that work for him. And for him to be able to pull that line off against a guy dressed like Santa Claus and make it all work, and it's a short scene. It's a very
Mhm.
short scene, but again, good writing, good acting, good directing, and a great edit.
Yeah.
All that comes together, and it worked for that scene really well. And that to me is just one of the better scenes because you always have the dance scenes and everything
Yeah.
but that was a better moment. That was a nice solid oof, right in the
Yeah.
solar plexus hit, like,
There
oh, he
there's a
felt
lot
that.
there. I mean, it's well done. And I guess like I was saying earlier, the vibe I got is the studios just did this. And it's
Yeah,
like, what happened? Why? It's all about making something that makes money now. And I get it, it's a business, but
right.
there's no soul, there's no heart anymore. And
No.
it's just like
I would bet that Angela Lansbury had something to do with the making of this movie.
probably, probably.
I would almost bet.
So I have to say something that's kind of funny. At least I thought it was funny. So I'm watching this and I was like,
uh,
wow, she's young. And she's like in her
yeah,
50s.
yeah, yeah,
So it's like, because I'm so used to seeing Murder She Wrote and
yeah,
seeing
yeah.
the later
She's so
Angela
much younger,
Lansbury.
you
Yeah.
know.
But even then, she's like our age. And like, oh, okay.
And
Whoops.
here's the funny thing: when she did shit, I just said the name of the movie.
Manchurian Candidate.
Thank you, Manchurian Candidate. She was in her 20s. She was
Mhm.
playing the part of a 45 or 50-year
Oh,
old.
wow.
And they really, because she was beautiful. When she dressed up, she was
Mhm.
beautiful. I mean, when they gussied her up. But in that movie, they really
Right.
downplayed. And I think maybe they didn't even put a lot of makeup on her, if any, just to really like get her look older. And she played the part. And you're like, holy crap. And then you
Yeah.
find out how young she is in that movie, and you're like,
Wow.
holy crap. you know, Bed
Yeah.
knobs and broomsticks, the same thing. But she's a good actress. She was always a
Hmm.
really good
Oh,
actress.
absolutely.
And this movie, I think it's sweet. It's a good Christmas holiday movie. I enjoyed
It
it.
is. It
Um,
is.
I would like to go through the names real quick for everyone.
Absolutely.
Angela Lansbury as Mrs. Santa Claus, Michael Jeter as at Arvo, Terrence Mann, of course, he plays a good bad guy, and he's just a good actor. Plays Augustus P. Tavish. Lindsay Bartleston played Nora Kilkenny, the little girl that was
Oh, yeah.
peeling
She
apples
was
and
good.
kicking the cop in the knee. Brian Murray. I
Yeah,
don't
that
know if
cop.
it's a Murray brother, but he played Officer Doyle.
I have seen him. His face was so
Yeah,
familiar.
yeah,
I don't believe he is. I think he is an Irish actor.
right.
Um, but I'm
Won't
not.
doubt it.
I didn't. His credits did not look that extensive. But I swear to God, I've seen this man in a lot of places. So I didn't
You
dig
may
deep
have.
enough. Yeah.
David Nerona was the guy who played Marcello. And the funny thing about him is he's got that accent,
Hmm.
plays the part, but he was born in Hialeah, Florida. Because I like to look at people, and I was
Oh,
just like,
wow.
holy crap, Hialeah, Florida. And he wound up going to New York. He was on Broadway. So he's done movies since this movie, but I think most of his career has probably been on Broadway
Oh,
and doing
wow.
stuff. So he is a song and dance man. So
Oh, yeah.
it was good.
Yeah.
Um, Deborah Wiseman was Sadie Lowenstein.
Yeah.
Charles Durning was Santa Claus.
Yeah. There's
And,
another face.
yeah, right. He's played Santa Claus a couple of times, I think.
Yeah.
Rosalind Harris was Mrs. Lowenstein. Now, for those of you who watch this movie and you see Mrs. Lowenstein, you'll think to yourself, I've seen Mrs. Lowenstein before. Yes, you have. Not only was she a big character actress, I think she still may be acting, I'm not sure, but she was in Fiddler on the Roof. She was the
Yeah.
eldest daughter. So I love Fiddler on the Roof. No lie.
Well,
We're gonna
that
have
should
to
be
do
on tap for this next coming year, as we
coming year.
always hit musicals on our show.
Absolutely. And I love it. It's just a good movie. But I thought that was funny. I was looking at her now, and Kat, of course, knows exactly who it is. But those are the main characters. Those are the main folks. Terry Hughes directed this, and a gentleman named Mark Saltzman was the writer. So I won't go into too much more detail for that.
Not,
But I highly recommend this movie. It is one of those movies that I have in recent years started watching every year because it gets me into that Christmas mood,
Yeah, I feel it's a good primer to say, hey, Christmas is here, is what it feels like, and then I'll start to go through the as we watch the Christmas movies, and then I will, of course, be breaking out Elf again this year. But it's
Elf's a standard anymore.
Yeah, it's the movies that make you feel, the movies that give you a little bit of hope, and that's what we need a lot of times. So
we will be. I think you've already agreed to this, so I hope I'm not speaking out of term. We will be doing the musical of Scrooge with Albert Finney.
Yeah,
so if you folks are out there, watch that and then watch our review of it. I think you're going to enjoy it. It's way up there. It's way up there on my list of movies of Christmas Carol movies that I love. Yep. And man, it's great. Can't help it.
So I'd like to thank you all for watching, listening, and thank you to our new listeners. And thanks for the comments and likes and shares. I really appreciate it. So that being said, hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe button, and tune in, because we are going to be hitting probably more than the month of December. We want to pack a few more Christmas movies in. So we'll see where we go and which way it takes us into the next year. And of course, that means our yearly review is popping up, tends to be some of our more popular episodes. So be on the lookout for that, as Dave and I go through every single movie we watched for the year and give a quick thumbs up, thumbs down, and maybe we've changed our mind from the time of the review.
Which has happened.
multiple times. So
I like it better now than I did before.
yes. So thanks again, folks. We will catch you next week.
Thanks.